Hi there, I'm CBS 8's Jenny Day. So glad to have you with me as I take you around San Diego. I'll catch you up on what you may have missed and look ahead at what's to come. We do start with the upcoming election and the president's campaign stop in San Diego.
5 days. 5 days of one of the most important elections in our lifetime. So folks, let's make sure we win this election. Get out the vote. We got to win. Vote, vote, vote.
President Joe Biden rallied an electric crowd in Oceanside, urging San Diegans to get out and vote as we enter the final stretch to the midterm elections. The commander-in-chief stayed overnight then in San Diego after headlining Thursday's event with North County Congressman Mike Levin, who's locked in a tight race with Republican challenger Brian Marriott. We were at MCAS Miramar as the president touched down on Air Force One. It's his first visit to the region since taking office. Biden was greeted on the tarmac by Representatives Levin and Scott Peters, as well as Governor Gavin Newsom and San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria. He was then driven to Oceanside, where he met an energized crowd at Muertos College. About that same time, Levin's challenger had a counter rally just a few miles away. CBS 8's Jasmine Ramirez will have more on that in just a moment, but we do begin with CBS 8's Richard Allen, who was at the president's rally.
Well, that's right. President Biden pumped up the crowd here at Muertos College tonight, giving incumbent Congressman Mike Levin a boost. Levin is in a tight race to hold on to his seat in the 49th Congressional District, facing off against Republican challenger Brian Marriott. Well, it's a safe bet that most of the folks here tonight plan to vote the Democratic ticket. President Biden is hoping a majority of voters will follow suit next Tuesday.
We need to re-elect Mike, and we need to re-elect all the Democrats who were mentioned for State House.
With just 5 days to go before the midterm elections, President Biden is not taking any vote for granted.
Let's make sure we win this election. Get out the vote. We got to win. Vote, vote, vote.
Here tonight in Oceanside to rally support behind incumbent Congressman Mike Levin. Levin told supporters tonight it is critical to stay on the mission.
All we have to do is win on Tuesday.
And a critical election, Levin said, for the future of the country.
We can make real progress on inflation, price gouging, corporate greed, public safety, and federally codifying a woman's right to make decisions about her own body.
Biden touted Levin's accomplishments, from investing in railways to improving our infrastructure, while also calling this upcoming election a choice between two different Americas.
It's going to determine the direction of the country for at least a decade or more, not a joke.
Highlighting the progress made over the past 2 years, from lowering prescription drug costs to creating high-paying tech jobs, while also emphasizing the legitimacy of the nation's elections and also striking an optimistic note for the future.
We got to remember who in God's name we are. We are the United States of America, for God's sake. There's nothing, not a single thing in the world we can't do if we do it together. Not one single thing.
And this doesn't end President Biden's trip to San Diego. He plans to tour a technology company somewhere in the county tomorrow morning before heading off to Chicago and Philadelphia this weekend for more Get Out the Vote events.
Richard Allen there reporting. And as the president was stumping for Congressman Mike Levin, his challenger for the 49th District seat held a rally just a few miles away. It was hosted by Reform California, who, as CBS 8's Jasmine Ramirez reports, urged attendees to support Republican candidate Brian Marriott.
Tonight, dozens of people attended this counter rally and heard from local and state candidates who are on the midterm ballot. As the president visited San Diego in support of Congressman Mike Levin. Tonight, others rallied in support for Brian Marriott, who is also running for the 49th Congressional District.
While Joe Biden is in town, he should apologize. That's really what he should be here for, a failed president trying to prop up a failed four-year congressman.
The 49th District includes the cities of Oceanside, Encinitas, and portions of Orange County. Back in 2020, Marriott was defeated by Levin. He believes this election will be different.
I see it every day. People are saying to me, I voted for Levin last time, but I'm with you this time. People sense it. Something's screwed up and badly. They're losing their peace of mind about the two things that matter most: their financial circumstances and their personal safety and health circumstances.
Republicans see the midterms as an opportunity to pick up the 49th district. Tonight, inflation, schools, and crime were hot topics.
Bring the cost of things down, restore our energy independence. Energy prices factor into everything in terms of inflation. People need relief at the pump.
Attendees described why they showed up tonight.
Current time in our country is not the United States that I was raised in. It's very controversial. People don't like each other.
Many attendees picked up voter guides at the door. Reform California created the guides and lists specific candidates to vote for and whether to support or oppose each ballot measure.
You know, that's good to have the voter guide with you, because then you already know someone's done the research for you to each judge, so you don't have to like sit online for a couple hours and read, you know, their background and all.
Tonight, the organizers and candidates said the goal of this counter rally was to send a message to the president and Congressman Mike Levin that they feel their policies are hurting San Diego. Election day is next Tuesday. Reporting in Oceanside, Jasmine Ramirez, CBS 8.
Jasmine, thanks. And as San Diego continues to cope with a shortage of teachers, one of the biggest challenges to recruiting new educators is our area's steep housing costs. A possible solution is building hundreds of affordable rental units specifically for San Diego Unified School District workers. And as CBS 8's Richard Allen again reports, voters will get to decide next week whether the idea moves forward.
Well, that's right. Governor Newsom recently signed legislation making it easier for school districts in California to build affordable housing for their teachers and other employees. It's a move that San Diego Unified here plans to make at the site of their current district headquarters, provided that Bond Measure U passes next week.
So what Measure U does is it continues the work that we have been doing as a community for over a decade.
Generating $3.2 billion, money that would be used for much-needed repairs and upgrades of existing schools and other district facilities, as well as fund new construction. That includes $226 million that would go toward affordable rental housing for lower-paid district employees, initially on the 8-acre site of current district headquarters, which will be relocating to Kearny Mesa in the next few years.
That will allow us to build, upwards of 500 units of affordable housing, especially for our youngest educators that are coming into the profession, but that struggle to be able to afford rent.
While the exact income requirements aren't yet established, rents would be no more than 30% of an employee's income. School board member Richard Barrera says the rising cost of housing should not be a roadblock to aspiring educators who want to work in San Diego.
We can say to young people, we can help you in the early parts of your career with an affordable place to live.
Down the road, there are also plans for additional affordable housing here at the site of Central Elementary in City Heights, which is moving to combine with Wilson Middle School. This concept for affordable housing for school district employees is already successfully underway in other parts of the state.
I was absolutely blown away.
Jonathan Krupp teaches in Daly City in the Bay Area, where a 122-unit apartment complex approved by local voters there has been built for teachers and staff on school district property, with rents about half the market rate.
There are no words to describe it. I think that this gives teachers hope.
Back here in San Diego, if Measure U passes, San Diegans would not see their taxes increase because its adoption would coincide with a pass bond measure's expiration.
So whatever you're paying now on your property taxes to support our schools is what you will continue to do.
And if Measure U passes, construction on affordable housing units here would most likely be completed within the next 3 years or so.
Richard, thanks again. As we turn back our clocks once again this weekend and prepare for less sunlight in the afternoon, some people are calling for permanent daylight savings time. A poll by CBS News found that more Americans would prefer that, with more daylight in the evening rather than permanent standard time here in California. Voters did pass a referendum in 2018 supporting an end to this time change, but the state legislature never took action. Not everyone is ready to abandon the status quo, though. One San Diegan said that she's excited for this weekend's time change.
It's like a new change of the year, and I like new things sometimes because sometimes things get kind of boring.
It's hard to go to work in the morning dark, come home in the dark, and you can't have any fun, especially for children. They need time to play outside after school.
Yeah, for sure. The U.S. actually tried permanent daylight saving time back in the early 1970s, in part to save energy, but it ultimately turned out to be an unpopular move among most Americans and lasted only 8 months. Well, meantime, the San Diego City Attorney's Office is working on a new resolution to address homelessness and housing. Council members unanimously voted in favor of drafting a resolution declaring housing is a human right, just like food and water. At this week's meeting, people who work with the homeless population spoke in favor of it, but several other speakers were opposed to the resolution.
Supporting this action today is a critical step the council can take to commit to making San Diego a place where all community members can live and thrive.
This is the difference between a free country and a socialist country. It's the difference between a hand up and a handout.
Yeah, according to the San Diego Regional Task Force, in the past year, more than 15,000 people have become homeless for the first time. And another item discussed at the City Council meeting, possible changes to the tenant's right to know ordinance. These proposed changes include no delay in receiving tenant protections, offering relocation assistance in some situations when a tenant must leave their apartment. Well, more mental health resources are coming to California. State leaders and mental health experts celebrated the establishment of the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. 988 launched nationwide last summer to combat the growing mental health crisis. But the services will now be enhanced in our state. Governor Newsom signed a bill in September which will essentially fund call centers and mental health crisis services. California is the 5th state to do so since the line launched federally. Well, the way you shop at the grocery store will change in the next couple of years with a bill that recently passed here in California. Starting January 1st, 2025, you will not be able to use the plastic produce bags that you currently see. Instead, stores are required to provide bags that are reusable, compostable, or paper. CBS 8's Neda Iranpour introduces us to a local couple who says it's about time.
These plastic produce bags are not recyclable. They're pretty weak, they tear apart easily, and they pollute our planet. Pretty soon these bags won't even be allowed.
Grab my reusable produce bags here.
For Jen Duval and her husband Farzan Demubed, this is the policy change they've been waiting years for.
Grab a few pairs.
That's because they've been trying to get rid of their own plastic produce bag problem.
We had all this plastic bags in our cupboards and pantry.
They say the produce bags were one of their most frustrating sights to see on their many outdoor adventures.
Farzan's a surfer and I'm a hiker, and we see it everywhere.
And these plastic produce bags are actually worse for the environment because they have a higher chance of ending up in the ocean, and they look like jellyfish. So they get ingested by all sorts of animals in our waters, and it's terrible for them.
Determined to try to get rid of the bags, they started their own business about 5 years ago to reduce waste when shopping.
These are 100% raw organic cotton reusable produce bags. They're washable, reusable hundreds of times.
Their business, Lotus Sustainables.
The average grocery store gives out over 2.2 million plastic produce bags a year. So a chain like Kroger uses over 5.5 billion plastic produce bags.
That's because on average, a family uses about 1,500 produce bags a year, and their actual time in use lasts an average of only 15 minutes. But these bags can last you a lifetime.
And this will hold large bunches of greens, kale, romaine, or tons of apples.
This San Diego small business now offers the first and only reusable produce bags that you'll see on display right by your fruits and vegetables at Albertsons, Vons, and Pavilions. More than 330 stores across Southern California.
The bigger they are, the harder it is to get to the right people, but at the core, they care about sustainability and they want to make an impact, and if you provide them an easy alternative to give to their consumers, they're all about it.
Ralph's, Gelson's, Barron's are also supporters. A 3-pack of mesh ones costs $6.99, and a 3-pack of 100% organic cotton ones costs $12.99. This husband and wife team who live in China manufacture the bags because they're in line with Jen and Farzan's environmental and fair wage practices.
We're so grateful. We never would have imagined it would have taken off the way that it did.
And now when their crew of about a dozen employees get together for their beach cleanups all around San Diego, they hope to see far fewer plastic produce bags.
I would love to have like a zero waste shopping experience for our customers.
These plastic produce bags won't be banned until January of 2025, but you'll already see these alternatives at most local grocery stores. In this Earth 8 report, I'm Netta Iranpour.
Such an important topic, Netta, thanks. Well, now to inflation, certainly hitting us just about everywhere. People shopping for a used car are seeing their options evaporate. Average consumers just can't afford popular models like the Honda CR-V and Toyota RAV4 anymore, according to new data from iSeeCars.com. CBS 8's Anna Laurel crunched the numbers and explains how much longer this squeeze could break your budget.
I just spoke with the manager of this used car lot in Kearny Mesa. He says what you could have bought before the pandemic for $15 grand will now cost you at least $22,000. And if your budget is $15,000 or less, there's not a lot to choose from.
A supply and demand crunch. This San Diego used car lot used to have more than 400 cars. Now they can only get about half that.
When you can't produce enough new cars, people have to go to the used car market.
And that's driving up prices. According to a new survey by iSeeCars.com, the average price of a 3-year-old used car skyrocketed since 2019, making many popular models too expensive for the average consumer.
It is unprecedented. Used car prices have increased so much in the past 3 years, and people's wages haven't kept pace. So that's why all these vehicles have moved out of affordability where they started.
Check out these price increases from 2019 to 2022 on the iSeeCars.com list of cars that are now considered unaffordable. In San Diego County, the average price for a 3-year-old Mustang in 2019 was $23,000. Today, a 3-year-old Mustang will cost you on average $41 grand. A 3-year-old Toyota RAV4 hybrid cost just under $25,000 in San Diego back in 2019. Today, a used one will cost you more than $40,000. And a 3-year-old Chevrolet Traverse cost $23,000 in San Diego in 2019. Today, a used one averages just under $40,000.
The Ram 1500 increasing by almost 70%. A Ford Mustang increasing by 75% in a 3-year period. It's not sustainable.
The year, make, model, and mileage all factor in the price. Make sure you check condition reports. Experts say call around, even outside San Diego County. Shop for the best price. The analyst at iSeeCars.com says if you can, hold on to your car for another 6 months to a year because he believes prices will go down.
People are not going to be able to afford them, and they probably aren't going to feel comfortable buying them in this environment as much as they did 6 or 12 months ago. So it's just hard to believe that prices won't come down.
We've got a full list of how much cars are costing these days. It's with this story on CBS8.com. In San Diego, this is Anna Laurel for CBS 8.
Oh, Anna, thank you. Well, the San Diego River could soon be in for some big changes. It's part of a new plan to turn it into a regional attraction. The plan would add bike paths, riverfront dining, and other amenities along both sides of the river. Rocio de la Fe explains the vision that many local leaders seem to be backing.
The long-term vision from the county and the city is to develop the San Diego River from Ocean Beach to right here in Mission Valley and all the way through the mountains as far inland as Julian. A push to revamp the San Diego River is growing among San Diego city and county officials.
This is a really exciting opportunity.
The $700 million plan envisions a trail system that would run from the mountains to the ocean, adding more pathways for pedestrians and bicyclists on both sides of the river and creating parks and riverfront dining.
And see so much of what San Diego has to offer and what will be a national treasure. But it required dedicated, sustained funding.
County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher is spearheading the efforts for the county to move forward with the plan and says the county and city have agreed to a new financing plan that would pay for it without a tax increase. It involves establishing an enhanced infrastructure financing district that would bring in money to help execute the River Park Master Plan.
Going into the future, the increase in property taxes that naturally happens, usually about 1% a year, that excess part will be diverted to be spent here along the river.
Councilmember Raul Campillo says redeveloping the river would not only make for a cleaner river, but the plan would also add financially.
Many other great cities like San Antonio and Atlanta, they are emphasizing their rivers, and we want to do the same thing in San Diego.
Officials also say the plan would require both agencies to come together to find solutions to homeless encampments along the river.
We've partnered with the Regional Task Force on Homelessness, with the city and the county, to make sure that as this trail gets developed, that the outreach workers are there, the shelter beds are there, the opportunities are there, so we can get homeless out of these canyons, get them out of these areas as we develop it into something beautiful.
The plan would be phased out, focusing on urban areas first. Environmental studies have already been built into the plan, making it easier to adopt. But officials do anticipate more environmental impact studies in the future once developers start getting involved.
We're making a long-term investment in a project that will be here literally for generations.
The joint partnership between the county and city will make spending decisions, and from there, officials predict they will have a better idea of when and how to move forward in the next 9 to 12 months. Rocio de la Fe, CBS 8.
Yeah, so beautiful. Rocio, thanks. Well, now to a health alert. The flu season has really gotten off to an alarming start. The county estimates that by next week, we will top the number of flu cases for all of last year. This as San Diego is still battling an unusually high number of RSV cases as well as COVID. Last year around this time, we had 265 flu cases. This year, we are already at nearly 1,200.
A large number of flu cases this early in the flu season typically means flu activity is going to be sustained and possibly more severe.
Yeah, Dr. Wilma Wooten there says in addition to flu cases, the number of RSV cases has hit more than 1,000, which is roughly 2.5 times higher this year compared to this same time last year. And we're also still dealing with COVID. Though cases are declining, just the fact that we've got all three at one time is really putting a strain on hospitals. With the holiday season around the corner, people are going to be getting together indoors, so experts say now is the time to really take those extra precautions. Wearing a mask in crowded places, washing your hands often, and making sure you are up to date on your vaccines.
It is frightening when your child cannot breathe. I say that as the father of 3 daughters. You will do anything you can to keep your child safe and warm. But please recognize that there are some kids who absolutely need to go to the hospital. And there are absolutely things that you can do to prevent your child from being one of those. Help us make sure there's a bed available for your child or for your grandmother during this winter season when we know the virus is hit the hardest.
Yeah, officials say this is really the first time we've dealt with 3 viruses hitting all at once. They really urge the public to do our part. Well, it was a shock to the sports world when football star J.J. Watt had to have his heart shocked back into rhythm. The Arizona Cardinals player recently went into atrial fibrillation, or AFib. It's a heart condition that can cause a stroke and even death. AFib affects more than 5 million adults in the U.S., including a San Diego woman and former D1 tennis star. She shared her story with CBS 8's Eric Connert, who explains the signs of AFib and how you can avoid it.
Played tennis for Torrey Pines High School.
Candace Donahoe
We were superstars.
is all heart.
We had 6 nationally ranked tennis players on our team.
Before ruling the tennis courts at Torrey Pines High in the 90s, she vividly recalls that moment as a kid
I fell in love with it.
when her heart filled with the competitive spirit.
My dad used to be a hockey player, and he made it into a game. Said, try to pass me, and on the tennis court. And so when he made it a game for me as a child, all of a sudden I realized I was super competitive.
Sinking her heart into every serve and return, the fierce competitor
I'm a Hoosier.
got a D1 scholarship to Indiana University.
We won the Big Tens when I was there.
In 2001, Candace was training in San Diego's finest half marathon.
20 yards in front of the finish line, I collapsed into the chain link fence. I woke up on a stretcher stretcher with the paramedics all around me.
She was originally told the blackout was due to dehydration, but the problems persisted. For the next 2 years, Candace felt out of shape, out of breath, even collapsing a few more times. It was after a jog when her dad, a doctor, noticed her face was very pale.
So he, checked my wrist and he couldn't count my pulse.
After several doctor's visits and opinions, Candace eventually saw an electrophysiologist, a doctor specializing in the heart's electrical system.
And ended up doing an ablation and diagnosed me with atrial fibrillation and atrial flutter.
Turns out the woman, known for being all heart on the tennis court, had an underlying heart condition affecting about 5 million U.S. adults.
I ran a marathon. I played, sports my whole life. How could there be something wrong with my heart?
And we often say if you live long enough, you will develop atrial fibrillation.
Sharp cardiologist Dr. Charles Athill says it's rare to see AFib under the age of 50, but younger people can mistake it for stress or anxiety.
We tend to take a long time to make that diagnosis because we assume that it's often something else and not something as serious as atrial fibrillation.
Candace's doctors found part of her heart's electrical pathway was beating 4 times higher than normal.
It's a very kind of chaotic heart rhythm.
Candace's ongoing health complications sparked her interest in getting into the medical device field. In fact, the insertable cardiac monitor she eventually had implanted next to her heart is from the med tech company she works for. The device, smaller than a AAA battery, zapped the circuit her heart was taking so it would no longer spike and helped monitor her heart activity.
Right now I know what the triggers are and what things I need to do to make sure that I don't, push myself beyond the limits.
Turns out heat was triggering Candace's heart rate, and she's not the only one avoiding triggers now.
Since I was diagnosed, my mother and her brother both got diagnosed with atrial fibrillation. So it turns out it was in the family.
You sometimes have to continue to be more persistent when you really feel that something is not right.
2 decades since that first collapse, Candace recently got the cardiac monitoring device removed, and the once uber-competitive athlete admits scaling back has been hard.
I got a Peloton. I no longer, because I can't seem to help myself, I'm so competitive, they put me in one of those classes.
It's okay to finish last for once, Candace.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I think it's important for her to share the story just so that people are more aware.
But it's really important, that you listen to your body, go see the doctor if you don't feel good.
Eric Connert, CBS 8.
Yeah, we certainly thank Candace for sharing her story. The CDC says 2% of people in the U.S. under the age of 65 have AFib. That number jumps to 9% over the age of 65. 130,000 people die from AFib each year, and the number of people with it is expected to double by 2030. Well, you can't prevent AFib entirely. You can do things to keep your heart healthy, including keeping your blood pressure and cholesterol levels low and maintaining a healthy weight and diet. Well, people all over San Diego celebrated Dia de los Muertos this week. Right now, there's an altar on display at the County Administration Building. Dozens of photos are there as families keep with tradition by honoring and celebrating the life of their loved ones. This year marks the 3rd year of the county celebrating Dia de los Muertos. And the 2-day Mexican celebration also has a strong presence in the South Bay. Families in Chula Vista and National City decorated dozens of altars to honor friends, families, even celebrity icons who have passed away. CBS 8's Regina Urita has more.
Tonight, families across southeastern San Diego and South Bay are not honoring loved ones who have passed away like most people normally would. These colorful altars are a representation to honor them during Dia de los Muertos.
Like that art.
For some people, the end of Halloween does not yet mean it's time to bring out the Thanksgiving decorations.
Beautiful.
And that's because Dia de los Muertos, Mexico's oldest traditional holiday, was celebrated by many Mexican Americans here in San Diego.
The people in these pictures are mostly my grandparents.
To celebrate, Chula Vista families filled the Terra Nova Plaza parking lot with ofrendas, meaning altars, to remember loved ones who have died.
It's a day that we take to remember everyone who was with us, who is no longer with us. And, we put up ofrendas, altars, representing all the things that they loved.
Some altars displaying some Mexican dishes and tequila to commemorate some of their family members' favoring things. Others covered in colorful decorations and flowers with skulls and skeletons that might even seem spooky, but are meant to be a symbol of celebrating the dead.
Seeing his picture definitely brings back memories, but it's all good memories.
families, and we know that he's watching over us, and hopefully he'll like his beer, his tequila.
Like Claudia, who decorated her altar with her family at the plaza, she could not help but get emotional when talking about her grandpa. Claudia says she believes each decoration will draw her grandpa's spirit back to this altar.
My grandpa, I'm the oldest grandchild. I thought that this would be a good way to get the family together and grieve together, celebrate that he's moved on to a better life, and that we believe that he's visiting us today.
And in National City, parks and libraries have also been decorated with ofrendas, each family hoping they could pass it down from one generation to the next.
Who's the man in that picture?
My grandpa.
And with strong faith that they will soon feel the presence of those who are no longer with us. Tomorrow, Dia de los Muertos celebrations continues. There will be an event at Glen Abbey Memorial Park in Chula Vista. Regina Urita, CBS 8.
It truly is such a beautiful tradition. So Regina, thanks. Well, take a look at this new 36-story hotel that could soon stand above the San Diego Bayfront. Developer Doug Manchester just revealed these renderings of the project. The tower would include more than 1,100 rooms and would stand at the site of the former Navy building at Harbor Drive and Broadway. Manchester expects to submit plans for the $550 million project to the city sometime this month. If approved and if financing is secured, groundbreaking could happen by late next year, and construction would take about 2.5 years. Well, people in Hillcrest have been noticing something off in their beloved neighborhood. The iconic sign, that is. Viewers asked us to look into it, so we sent our Brian White out working for you to check out the problem in Hillcrest.
The Hillcrest sign, a treasured symbol of this vibrant, inclusive, and free-loving community.
I love Hillcrest. The city is just so vibrant and fun.
I love the sign. It's beautiful. I hope it stays for a long, long time.
And when the sign's not lit up like it's supposed to be, people notice. In fact, we received emails from viewers asking, what's the deal? So I reached out to the Hillcrest Business Association, which maintains the sign.
We turned it off about a month ago. The issue is when you turn it on right now, it does look a little bit sad, and we wanted to make sure that people didn't come away with a negative impression with half of the sign on.
According to Executive Director Benjamin Nichols, the sign has been standing proud over Hillcrest for about 60 years. And it's been quite a while since it's had a spruce up.
So the last time we renovated the sign was probably about 13 years ago.
At that time, the older neon lights were switched to LED neons, but over the years they've grown tired and a bit faded. So now, big plans are in the works to restore the brilliance this sign deserves.
The great new feature that we're adding this year is that it is going to be color changing. And so most of the time it'll be the classic Hillcrest sign, but then for Pride we can make it rainbow colored. For different special seasons like Christmas, we can make it red and green.
The price tag is about $85,000 for the renovation, and so far they've raised $75 grand. The sign will have to come down for a few weeks at some point to make the upgrade.
I think it's wonderful. As long as they keep the classic look to it, I love things being light and bright and just representing what the city is about. That's great.
Yeah, I think that represents Hillcrest perfectly with the colors and the lights. It's just going to be surrounded by a bunch of beautiful people, and I think it'll be great.
I think it's just a reminder that this is a safe place for me. This is a safe place for everyone who lives here, and so if we can make that even more prominent, I think that would be amazing.
Now, the Hillcrest Business Association does tell me that the renovations and upgraded lighting should be complete by the holiday season, sometime around Christmas. In Hillcrest, I'm working for you, Brian White, CBS 8.
Good to know, Brian. Thanks. And don't forget, here at CBS 8, we are working for you. If there's an issue you'd like us to look into, email us at workingforyou@cbs8.com. And hey, if you're looking for a family-friendly event this weekend, Fleet Week San Diego is back. The USS Montgomery just arrived at Broadway Pier. Police motorcycles escorted Marines from MCAS Miramar downtown. This is all part of an annual event that allows people to check out military equipment and tour ships, all for free. The USS Montgomery will be open to the public for tours starting Friday at 1 p.m. No reservations needed. And we leave you now with a look at a dead juvenile great white shark that washed up on San Diego shores. California State Park sent us this photo. They say the shark was found at Torrey Pines State Natural Reserve on Sunday. Just on Friday, a woman in Del Mar was actually bit by a shark. We have more information on CBS8.com. This shark, though, obviously it's so sad to see, but they added that it had died after sustaining some serious injuries. Juvenile sharks tend to be in shallower waters where it's safer before they mature into adults and venture out to deeper waters. Yeah, somehow we all have to coexist, right? Well, as always, thank you for your time. Thank you for staying informed. Hope you join me each week as I take you around San Diego. For CBS 8, I'm Jenny Day. Take good care of yourself.